There are many, many different ways to make silver in Albion Online, but a lot of people end up doing these methods and they end up actually spending more silver than they are making, and that is by design. Here are some of the activities that most people do to make silver. Solo dungeons, corrupted dungeons, open world mobs, gathering, faction farming, heart transports, which you should never do, and I'm going to cover why later in the video, farming your islands, and laborers. But all of these activities actually have ways and incentives in the game that will make you want to spend more silver on them than you're actually making, and that's how SBI, that's how Stillfront, that's how the game, that's how they get your money. That's how they make you open up your the little gold buying page and swipe your credit card. That's how they get you. And today's video is going to educate you on how to avoid costing yourself more silver than you are actually generating. Going in order, let's talk about solo dungeons. Okay, so what's a solo dungeon? You go out into the open world, and you see these little green portal dungeons, you enter them, you kill mobs, which they do drop silver for you to collect, and then you fight a few bosses, sometimes a boss at the end, and they drop treasure. So how is this costing you more silver? Okay, let's go over how you are doing solo dungeons wrong and costing yourself too much silver. Now, here is just a very quick list of everything that you're doing in solo dungeons that's actually costing you money, okay? And these are things that I see all the time when I consult or talk to new players, all right? And even some people that have been playing a while. So one is, number one, not selling your gear drops, okay? When you do a solo dungeon, you're going to get random assortments of gear, and for whatever reason, people just throw them in chests. They just hoard them. Like I will see what's in their banks, in their town banks or their guild island banks, and it's just filled with gear that they never sell. You should always be selling everything that you're getting that you're not immediately using, because you can use that silver to buy whatever it is that you actually want, okay? It makes 0 sense. That's your payday. The gear that you get in these dungeons is how you're making your silver. And by not selling the gear, you're just going to be draining silver. I don't understand why you're not selling your gear, okay? And then another one is over-upgrading your gear, okay? Now, I totally understand using an 8.3 set to speed farm tier 5 dungeons. It's what I do, okay? But some people, I'll see them, and here's what I mean. They'll use like a 4.3 set. I don't know why you would ever buy 4.3. You can get to tier 5 so much faster that it's a waste of money. But not only that, they'll buy a 4.3 masterpiece set. Okay, there's no reason to ever buy a 4.3 masterpiece set economically for farming dungeons. There's just no point. You're wasting your money. Also, like things like capes, they're using way higher tier capes than they should ever bother with using. The next one is having either a terrible build that makes no sense, like using a bow with plate armor. I don't know why you would run solo dungeons with a bow at all, for one. But essentially, like, wearing plate in a solo dungeon also makes no sense, unless you're doing extremely hard mapped content or something. But even then, it really makes no sense, okay? But also having high repair bills, and this is just from either being bad at the game, new at the game, or just obsessively trying to beat a boss over and over and over and over when you know that you don't have the gear or the build or the skill to do it. Alright, if you can't beat a boss after a few tries, you gotta move on. You gotta just let it go. I know it's a legendary chest, and that boss has 10,000 HP, but if you can't beat it, don't sit there and break your gear on it for hours on end. You're not only wasting your time, you're gonna have a huge repair bill also. Alright, and then being time inefficient, this also ties into having a bad build. When I ask a lot of new players, that complain that they're not making silver doing solo dungeons, I ask them, how long are you spending per dungeon floor? And they will tell me 15 minutes. And I'm like, what? It takes you 15 minutes to clear one dungeon floor? And that makes no sense to me, because even, like, when I speedrun solo dungeons, and I can clear a floor in about 1 minute 45 seconds, okay? Unless it's a really big floor, then in 2 to 3 minutes tops, okay? But 15 minutes per floor, of course they're not going to make money, because by the time they clear a 3-floor dungeon, it's almost been an hour, and they've maybe made 10 to 15 to 30k silver if they get bad drops in their chest, if they get drops at all. So you have to be efficient with your builds and your clear time in order to make silver doing solo dungeons, alright? But also, another thing that I see all the time from new players, and I was a new player once, and I did this same exact thing, okay? You go to the red and the black zones too early, you go to the red or black zones completely undergeared and by yourself, Here's the thing, when you do red and black zone dungeons, it's only a matter of time before people find you and kill you. A lot of people run hack programs that can see if someone is occupying a dungeon, okay? And if you wait that 90 seconds for every dungeon to close, you're somewhat safe, but sometimes you'll exit the dungeon and there'll be like 10 guys right on top of where your dungeon is, ready to kill you. Even though you do get a bubble, they have a catch set, they can follow you, they can stun you, they can slow you down, kill your mount, and eventually kill you and take all your stuff. That is a huge monetary loss, especially if you aren't banking your gear. So, I see a lot of new players who will, like, pay all of their silver to upgrade their set. Like, there was a guy yesterday I talked to. He ran red zone dungeons with a tier 7.3 masterpiece set, okay? And he nearly died the other day. He escaped, luckily, but he almost died with that set. That was his entire net worth. He had been playing the game for weeks, and that's all he could afford. And it wasn't even a good build. It was a plate with a bow, all right. And he had 7.3 masterpiece set farming dungeons with it. Okay, I can farm dungeons faster than him in a 4.1 crossbow build set. I'm telling you right now. So not only did he waste his money on stupid useless items, he's also risking all of it in the red zone when he shouldn't. He can't afford to be doing that yet. All right, and then finally. Well, not finally, but stacking additional silver-making methods like journals, laborers, and being faction flagged. There are so many people that I see who do not faction flag when they're doing solo dungeons in the royal zones. It's free money. There's no reason not to do it. It's also more money and more fame for doing it. And then, of course, the last two, which a lot of people fall into the trap of because they want to level up faster, they want to max out their skills faster, and that is using a satchel, and also converting to combat fame credits when they have maximum mastery or spec, which they might not be aware that they're actually doing. These things are a huge silver sink for more wealthy players like me to take advantage of. They're not for newer players to use. Never, ever wear a satchel unless you have multiple ways of making money. All right, let me just explain to you how bad a satchel can be for your money, okay? This month alone, I have spent 100 million silver on combat fame credits. I have 87 million combat fame credits currently, and this has cost me over 100 million silver to get. And what this does is it basically lets me go to any weapon I want. Like if I want to level up spears, I can just pump it up to 100 here and click confirm, and that's going to spend 16.35 million combat fame credits, which I earned by leveling up and spending my silver on. So it's basically a way to quickly level up, right? But let me tell you, my crafter didn't make 100 million silver this month. My crafter only made 40 million. So I had to sell my siphon energy. I've had to sell 2 skins. I'm about to have to sell a 3rd skin. I've got, what is this? I've got the Snow Fox. I wanted to hold on to this until it hits 100 million, but I'm not going to be able to because I want more combat fame credits, and I'm going to have to sell this sucker so that my silver doesn't dip too low, so that I can just spend a few, like that 17 million silver I'm going to get from selling it. I'm going to be able to clean that out in 2 to 3 hours of fame farming, okay? It's going to be gone in like 2 to 3 hours and turn it into these combat fame credit points. So, as a new player, do not ever wear the satchel. Do not put auto respec. Do not click this button on, okay? Just don't. It's going to cost you too much damn silver. And until you have like high level crafting and multiple islands making you money and multiple premiums running, you should never ever do it. Just don't. Alright, corrupted dungeons are pretty much the same thing with a little bit of a PvP flavor to it, okay? So here's the thing too, you actually get a little bit more treasure from corrupted dungeons if you clear them fast enough, if you don't get invaded, okay? Or if you are a PvP god and you invade people and beat them up and you get more loot and more treasure. It's simple as that. You get more fame once you hit Slayer, okay? Slayer, corrupted dungeons are way better fame than solo dungeons will ever be. Even if you're doing 8.3 maps, it's still not as good. Okay, but the only difference with corrupted dungeons is you can't really faction flag, so I kind of need to delete that off the screen, I'm sorry. But also, here's the thing, over-upgrading your gear in a corrupted dungeon. If you're doing hunter corrupted dungeons, you don't need anything above 4.1. If you're doing stalker, you don't need 4.2. Anything above 4.2, your IP gets scaled down. Like, I'll see people doing Stalker Corrupted Dungeons in, like, Tier 8. It makes no sense. You're not getting more power from that. You're getting, like, a fraction of a decimal of power from it, okay? I think I did the calculations at full 8.3 max spec. In a Stalker Dungeon, you're doing, like, 10 more damage with crossbows. That's it. To like 10 more damage, and you're using multiple millions of silver risking it against another dude with a 4.2 build. It's gonna wreck you with a counter. Okay, so basically same things as corrupted done as regular solo dungeons. Open world mob farming, same thing. You're actually going to get way less treasure. Open world mob farming. You're going to get more raw silver though. Okay, I can make about 1 million silver in 2.5 hours of farming open world mobs. So with that said, I want to put into a very important thing at the bottom here: paying taxes. Okay, if you join a guild and they have a tax rate, you're losing a ton of silver. Okay, if I can farm at 1 million silver from tier 5 mobs in the open world every 2.5 hours, and the tax rate is set to 20%, guess what? My silver farming is now only 800,000 an hour. Okay, so that means in 12.5 hours of time, I've lost 2.5 hours of my time because that money is going to someone else for absolutely no reason. So make sure that you are not in a guild with taxes. Okay, if you loot silver and you see a little tax icon pop up, leave that guild immediately. Do not let them steal your silver. That is your silver. You need it. It's my money and I want it now. Okay, but it's pretty much the same thing as corrupted dungeons and open world mob dungeons. Same deals. Don't use the satchel if you're new. Don't go to the red or black zones with no escape set without experience, and it's totally fine to farm the red and black zones if you want. It just takes more time to get there. It also, when you die, you get set back a bit. So your profit, it's going to cut into your profits. Okay, that's just how it is. All right, finally, we're at gathering. Okay, let me tell you, the biggest reason you're not making silver gathering is that you are not using a gathering set. This is so dumb. I see this you could write out right now. Go out right now in Albion and just ride around and look at people gathering things, either skinning mobs or chopping trees or whatever it is, wherever zone you're in, and inspect their gear. Look at how many people aren't wearing a gathering set. They're not wearing the armor, the backpack. They're not using the proper tool. They're not using the pork pie. They're not even using an ox or a mount that can carry a lot of stuff. So if you are not using a gathering set, you're making like 1/10 the silver that you could potentially be making. I'm telling you right now. Yes, I know you want to farm open world mobs too, but you can't do both. You wear the mob farming set for mobs, and you wear the gathering set for gathering. You are losing silver either way trying to do both. Okay. The next one is not focusing on one material. Okay. This really doesn't apply if you're max tier 8 with tier 8 gear. Like if you have tier 8 tools, go ahead and gather everything in the zone, okay? But otherwise, I've done the math, I've run the numbers, I've done the testing. And if you are trying to, chop trees, mine ore, and skin animals all at the same time, you can only wear one gathering set, okay? So, like, say you're wearing a tree chopping set. Every tree you chop is going to give you bonus materials, but everything else you do isn't. You're going to make more silver per hour if you just ignore the skinning mobs, except for the enchanted ones, of course, and the enchanted metals or whatever it is. And just chop trees with your tree chopping set, okay? You're going to make way more silver than trying to spread out and get a bunch of materials, okay? But also, you are wasting time, which is also wasting silver because time is money for those that don't know and you aren't aware. But you're also wasting silver refining materials most of the time. Sometimes it can be profitable, but usually when it is, someone has already used a program to determine that by sniffing the packets of the marketplace, and their program will tell them, hey, there's a profit opportunity, and they'll load up their mammoth and then mass refine, and then they'll dump it and equalize the market. So refining, not really profitable. You could focus refine, but I think I made a video, and check out my channel. I've made entire videos on these subjects. It is not worth it unless you go all in, and that's the thing too. Like, wasting also time taking your refined materials and crafting it. Okay, I had the grand dream on this specific character here that I would become a master bow crafter, right? And I wasted so much resources crafting bows, even focus crafting bows and focus refining, and it's just not as profitable as if I would have just taken the raw logs and sold them. Like, when you're early on and you need that silver for premium, or you need that silver to expand your islands, you can't be splurging it on trying to max out crafting. You just can't. It is a huge detriment to your character's growth. You're losing more potential silver trying to, craft early on than just, I don't know, selling the raw materials, alright? But also, not using laborers and journals when you gather is a huge detriment, okay? If you're chopping trees, you need lumberjack laborers, and you need lumberjack journals to fill. It's free money, it's extra money, there's no reason not to do it, alright? Now also, not testing your silver per hour efficiencies, and let me get into what that means, okay? What that means is that, like, say I'm a skinner, okay, I have tier 7 skinning right now on this character. I have tested if I farm certain tier 5 zones versus farming certain tier 4 zones. I can go to a tier 4 zone, there'll be like 6 players in the whole zone, and I can have the whole zone to myself farming very large clusters of mobs all at once, very quickly. Or I can go to the tier 5 zone where there's 200 players, and I can maybe farm a saber-toothed tiger once every 10 minutes. You know, the tier 5 mobs take forever to skin, they don't really sell for that much, there's not that many stags around, there's less baby drops, so on and so forth. It's actually more efficient for me, money-wise and fame gain-wise, to farm in that tier 4 zone where no one goes to. That's just how it is. I have videos on my channel on this exact subject as well. So, with that also said, you need to be manually mapping your resource clusters, okay? Let me turn off the text here for a second, show you what I'm talking about with resource clusters, okay? Let's just go to a map here. Let's just go to Parched Throat Plain, okay? So what you need to do is you need to map out where things spawn. So I'm going to tell you right now, just a little freebie here. This little top wall, like if you follow this top wall, there's like 5 saber-toothed tigers up here, okay? But if you follow this wall, there's 1. Sometimes, very rare. There's 1 down this wall, and there's 2 down this wall, and there's like 2 or 3 around this wall. So what that means is that if you have a map, you can be like saber-toothed tiger here, 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 and here. And you will be able to bounce between those saber-toothed tiger spawns very fast and efficiently, okay? Whereas if you go to, like, say you're a tree chopper, same thing. You can be like, there's a bunch of tier 5 trees here, there's a bunch of tier 5 trees here, and here, okay? I don't know for sure. I haven't mapped it out. But you get what I'm saying. You need to map out where these resource clusters are so you can more strategically run around the map and gather them better than other players can, okay? Now also, selling raw resources, you can sell it to the wrong town. Let me explain what that means too. I'm going to turn the text off again. We're going to open this map back up. Now let's say you got Limhurst. This is a big foresty area. Pretty cool, right? You could sell your raw logs in Limhurst. There's nothing wrong with that. Or you can take the time and haul all those logs to Fort Sterling. This is where, you know, people refine, raw wood into planks. And if you sell the wood here, it's going to sell for way, way, way more. Or you can take it to a town that just doesn't have wood at all, like Bridgewatch, and it's going to sell for more. Alright, you have to actually check the markets to see. But if you gather all the wood in Limhurst and you sell in Limhurst, you're selling yourself short. Because if you just went to Bridgewatch and sold it there, or to Fort Sterling and sold it there instead, you're going to make way, way, way more money that is actually worth the trip. Especially if you just make it a one-way trip. You just rent an ox, with some basic gear, ride down to Fort Sterling, sell all your logs, sell everything you rode in with, and then free teleport back to Limhurst. You're good to go. Okay? So, with that said, the next one is not being faction flagged. Of course, you earn faction points for gathering. If you're not faction flagged, and there's so many gatherers that aren't, I assume they're afraid of being ganked or they're just bots. But you're losing so much free money by not being faction flagged. And also, going to the red or black or Avalonian roads and dying, okay? Dying with your gathering set and with a full inventory of gathering loot is pretty damn harsh. You spend an hour chopping trees and then some guy runs up and blows you up in 2 seconds with his gang of 10 dudes. It's not fun. You've just lost a ton of time and all that silver. Huge losses. So don't go to those zones unless you have backup, unless you have friends. Back in the day, there used to be these guilds. They were like trade guilds. And what they would do is, like, you would join, like, a fisherman guild, and you and, like, 30 people would fish in a zone, and the second one person starts getting ganked, you all just collapsed and killed them. So you'd have, like, if you tried to gank, you would have 30 fishermen on your butt trying to kill you. And everyone defended each other. It was really cool. I don't know if that's still a thing or not, okay? But don't go into the red, black, or Avalonian roads alone. Just don't. You're wasting your money. You're wasting your silver. Next up, we have faction farming. This one's more of a side activity, not like a main money hustle, but it's still really fun to do, and I'm going to put it here anyway, okay? So, if you're actually faction farming, you don't want to use an 8.3 set unless you're out 1v1ing people. If you're out trying to do blob stuff, don't wear the 8.3 set. Don't wear an expensive set because your repair bills are going to be insane. Just dying once in an 8.3 set, you're not going to make that money back for at least an hour and a half, okay? Also, if you don't follow the blob or herd, you're being very inefficient with faction point farming, unless you are solo ganking in 8.3. That is an exception. That's actually far more faction points, is being really good at PvP as a solo, using, dismount sets and, knocking people off their horses or killing gatherers or bots. Alright, overstaying your welcome in enemy territory. So what happens is, like, say I'm in Bridgewatch and we push to Martlock, and then Martlock pushes back and everyone starts dying. Well, if you just stay around Martlock and keep dying over and over and over again, because your blob is scattered, people have retreated, you're just getting a repair bill that you don't need and you're not getting any points for it, okay? Not knowing when to retreat, that's basically the same thing, is when a bigger blob shows up and their tanks start diving your front line and you just keep dying over and over, just retreat. It's not your job to get blown up by tanks, okay? It's not your job to do anything. Don't let other people try to tell you how to, like, do faction fights, like, oh, you need to use this set, you need to go out in this gear. And that goes to another point. Going all in the red zone, okay? Don't wear expensive stuff when doing red zone faction flag content. Just don't. Use cheap 4.1 sets. Who cares if you're not healing 100 extra points or not? It doesn't matter to you, okay? What matters is the cost of your equipment versus the amount of points you're getting, all right? There's no reason for you to, like, be some hero and dive into the enemy blob and tag a bunch of dudes as you die, okay? Just stay in the back lines, collect your points, kill stragglers, and you're going to make far more points and have less repair bills and less, set replacements to pay for. And then finally, following the orders of these random discords that try to tell you what to do and not looting, okay? If you're in a red zone, like, faction fight and someone dies, you need to loot them as fast as possible, and don't give a shit what some shot caller tells you to do. They're not your boss. Unless you're, like, in their guild or something, or you're bending the knee to them, don't let some random guy tell you not to loot, okay? The reason why is because they want the loot, their guild wants the loot. The whole point of going into the red zone for faction fighting, besides more points, is the loot. So if someone dies, you need to dogpile right on top of them and take as much stuff as you possibly can. If they kick you from the group, so what? You can still get faction points when you're not grouped with them. Just make sure you're tagging enemies and capturing points. It doesn't matter. The thing is, you can't be gatekept from this content like you can other things in this game. So that allows you to farm and take people's loot and actually profit if you survive and get out alive. Alright, next up is heart transports. I have told so many people in my videos, never ever do heart transports. Do not do them. Don't even think about doing them. Yes, you can make an okay amount of silver doing them. Not really worth your time. Here's the thing with heart transports, okay? You have everything to lose, and the people attacking you and taking your hearts have nothing to lose except maybe a repair bill, okay? For doing a heart transport, you can't really, if you're doing, like, the higher package deals, you can't really dismount to fight people. You just can't, okay? But they can chase you through multiple zones much faster than your transport moves, and they can dismount you, and once you're dismounted, you won't be able to run anywhere. If you're using, like, a boar, then maybe you can still be mobile, but they're going to dismount that way easier than a bear, okay? It's super not worth doing. It is a huge time sink. It doesn't make you that much silver anyway, and here's the thing, if you die with one transport, it's going to take you hours of transports to make up for it. So, and you're going to be hunted down a lot. Like, there are entire groups of people that just hunt transports. I'm one of them. My favorite thing to do in this game is I get a gank set, and then I go kill transports and take their hearts. I make lots of faction points. I make lots of silver doing the heart transport ganking. So don't heart transport. You'll see bots do them sometimes, and that's free silver. Just kill the bots. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm not trying to hide some secret gold farming method. It is, the thing with heart transports is you're not improving your character either. You're not earning fame. You're not earning faction points. You're not earning anything. You're just doing a mission, and you get a little bit of extra silver when you sell the hearts. That's it. It's not worth the time. It is, you're giving your silver away because eventually someone's going to blow up your transport when you're transporting 18 hearts, and they're gone. You're not making that money back. It's an absolute huge waste of time. Don't do them. Don't do them. Alright, so farming your islands, here are several ways that players actually end up losing silver doing this activity, okay? So planting more than they can sustain. So what that means is that you're buying all these seeds and you're planting them, but you're not watering enough of the seeds in order to get those seeds back. So in the long run, you're paying more for seeds than what the crops sell for. Not a lot of people do this, but it is something that you can end up doing if you're not actually checking, how much you're earning every day. All right, then trying to get into more costly activities like animal breeding, okay? To breed animals, you have to feed them to grow them, obviously, right? And then what do you do with the animal? Most likely you're not making a profit until you have very high mastery and using focus and having multiple characters to grow the crops to feed the animals, okay? So, like, animal breeding is probably one of the hardest ways to make money in the game. But, of course, when you do it, you make good money. But until then, you are losing money. You're bleeding money, okay? Ticking up too fast means, once you unlock tier 4 crops, tier 5 crops, tier 8 crops, that you just go straight into it thinking that the higher tier is better. It's not, okay? The way crops work in this game is it's about the time it takes to grow. A tier 8 crop doesn't really necessarily sell for more than a tier 3 crop because they have the same amount of effort and time and energy and so on and so forth to grow. And also the higher tier crops have a base chance of having like seed return rates when watered, so it all kind of evens out when you're using focus anyway. Alright, and then trying to craft the goods from the things on the same character as your plant watering character, okay? So, for example, you're watering crops on a character, and then you're also crafting potions on that same character. You're splitting your focus costs. You're not going to make nearly as much silver as if you just premium up a second alt for your crafting, okay? I have like 4 or 5 characters that grow crops and 2 or 3 characters that craft potions, okay? I have 20 alts, by the way, for those that don't know. So, not using your focus on your crops, okay, or your products or whatever it is you're growing on your farms, okay? You need to be using your focus if you're using farmland. And you also need to have premium active. I don't have that as a bullet point, but if you're going to harvest anything from an island, you have to have premium active, otherwise you're getting half as much of the product. Now, the only crop, mathematically, currently in the market that you can actually get away with not watering and still profit is tier 3 wheat, okay? If you grow wheat, you don't need to water it, you'll still make a profit. That's just based on the mathematics of the seed return yield rate and the cost of wheat on the market compared to, everything else. Now, not focusing on one product, that's another thing. Like, I'll go to people's farms, and I'll see that they have, like, they're growing chickens on one, they're growing cabbages on another, and they have, like, a pin where they're growing swift claws, okay? It makes no sense. You're focusing on 3 different things. That means your focus cost is divided 3 different places. You're not being efficient with your one character, okay? If you have multiple characters, that's completely fine, But until then, you're losing silver doing so, okay? Going beyond 3 farm plots, okay? Mathematically, the cost of premiuming up a character and then buying an island with 3 farm plots is mathematically more cheaper than upgrading to 4 or 5 farm plots on one character, okay? It's actually worth it mathematically to premium up multiple characters and then get them to the 3 farm plot island than it is to just maximize your one island, okay? And it's that way by design. It's to encourage making alts. Also, spending more on seeds than what they yield. This circles back to planting more than you can sustain, okay? If you're buying more seeds than you're making money from, you're losing silver. And I understand people get greedy. I too get a little greedy. I want to maximize, my plant growing, levels as fast as possible. But in the long run, yeah, you can level up faster, but it can cost you like 500,000 silver a day if you're doing it wrong. Like, I have something like 100 islands, and I think it was costing me 3 to 4 million if I wanted to power level a character's growing stat. Because there's no way I can have enough focus to water all those damn islands. But yeah, buying the seeds and growing the crops that aren't wheat, okay, would cost me more than what I'm making. So don't fall into that money trap. And finally, the last point on our list for today is laborers, okay? You can actually lose money with laborers if you're doing it wrong or you're not doing it long term. Let me explain, okay? The first one is you need to factor in the cost of building the house for the laborers, the cost of the furniture, and their daily yield. So, my best example is mercenary laborers, okay? To build a tier 5 house, put 3 mercenaries in it. to fill it with furniture, the beds, the table, the trophies, okay? The amount of silver I'm going to get from those 3 laborers, it takes me 3 real-life months to break even on the silver cost, okay? Anything after that 3-month period will be profit, but until then, I am 3 months in the red, spending my own money from other sources in order to have those laborers in the first place. Now, for me, I've been playing this game for what, like since it came out. I know it's been 5 years, but on and off, I would say 2 to 3 years. Okay, I have hundreds and hundreds of labor islands, and as far as mercenaries go, I've made my money back from them big time. The only reason I even have mercenary laborers anymore is in the hopes they get buffed one day. New players, I wouldn't ever recommend they even bother with mercenary laborers, because again, 3 months of messing with laborers until you break even, not even profit, break even. In the long run, you will make more silver if you do them in the long run, okay? The next thing is to grow your own laborers. Don't go buy them. When I tell people to use laborers, they'll go to the market and pay $50,000 for a blacksmith, and then they just sit in their house, and then they wonder why the fuck they're not making 50,000 silver on their first day. That's not how this works. You buy the laborer from the house itself. You click the side of the house here. Okay, let me take away the text. You see this little scroll on the wall here? It's a little hard to see. Click that, and then you can buy your laborers for 1,000, put them in your house, and in 1 week's time, you can grow them to tier 5. Okay, so you're taking 1,000 silver and you're turning it into 50,000, or whatever the market is now. I think they're down to 25 or 30,000, but still, the point is, don't go buy laborers, grow your own. It takes a week. All right, the next one is not filling enough journals. I had this problem when I was doing lumberjacks. Is I had way more laborers than I could fill the journals for daily, than I was willing to play for. I'd have to play like 10 hours a day chopping trees in order to fill enough journals for all of my lumberjacks. So I had to cut back on lumberjacks, which is a money cost thing, right? And then finally, buying journals instead of manually filling them. You should not be buying journals to fill, okay? Otherwise, everyone would just buy all the journals and then equalize the market, okay? Think about it, right? If you can make free money by just buying journals and giving them to laborers, then everyone would be doing it, and then therefore the price of journals would go up to the point where it's no longer profitable, and which is usually the case. There are people that do this spreadsheet stuff in like trading discords all the time that figure this stuff out. You're not going to compete with them, so don't bother. Don't buy journals, fill them manually. And then finally, not selling laborers. If you grow a bunch of laborers from tier 2 to tier 5, you need to sell them. People will buy them over time, and you're making more money by growing and selling the laborers than growing them and stuffing them in a chest forever, okay? Like I said, the only reason I keep laborers around is in case they get buffed one day. Another thing, too, about laborers is once you get into way more advanced silver making, you're going to find that the time you spend with laborers is very inefficient unless you're a master crafter, to the point where, like, it's just a big hassle, especially mercenary laborers. So, as far as time and money goes, it can become a huge time sink. I used to spend hours giving mercenary journals out, and I would only make like 500,000 silver from it. Like, that's like I can go farm dungeons to make more per hour than doing that. So it was just a way to get tier 8 mercenaries, which weren't available in the shops at the time. That's all. Anyway, guys, that's all I've got for today's video. I'm Soul Binging. Thanks for watching. Thanks for coming to hang out with me today while I talk to you about money and how you're doing it wrong and stuff like that. Guys, make sure you're subscribed because we have videos every single day on this channel. So you don't want to miss tomorrow's video. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now. Don't worry, you're not going to miss anything on the screen. Scroll down, click subscribe. Go on. Thank you so much. All right, so if you want to financially support me, click the thanks button and leave a monetary donation. I actually got a really big one the other day. A guy dropped $50. It was really cool. His name was Yeeps, and he left a $50 dono. And the cool thing is his comment lit up in like a light red color that totally highlighted and popped out from all the other comments. Very, very cool. So if you want to be cool like Yeeps, leave a donation if you can. If not, don't worry about it, okay? Only if you have the money to spare, and it'll pop out. It'll show how much you donated, and if you donate a big amount, the color changes of your comment. The entire box color changes. You know, YouTube's like a white color. Well, you know, you can change the color. It's crazy. Anyway, With that said, you can also become a channel member. $5 a month, you'll get access to private, more personal videos. If you scroll down to the pinned comment, there is a members only playlist, which will show you all of the videos that are accessible by members only. As a member, you get access to like Soul Benji emotes. You get a little like badge next to your name showing that you're a channel member when you leave comments, another cool flex. And I really do appreciate it so much. Becoming a channel member also helps me out as a YouTuber. It makes YouTube like me more and throw my videos out to more people. Also, you know, out of those private members-only videos, one of them is how to be a YouTuber. So if that interests you, I go over the editing program I use, how to do tag title, search engine optimization stuff, everything in a 40-minute video. I basically made it for myself in case I forget who I am by, like, if someone shoots me with a brainwash ray or I get hit on the head really hard and forget who I am, I could come back and be a YouTuber with that one video. That one video would take me from zero to hero immediately as a YouTuber. So if you're interested in making, you know, YouTube a side hustle, or you just want to be like internet famous and, you know, be recognized on Albion Online or something, then check out that video. It's $5 a month to have access to it. Thank you so much. I will see you in tomorrow's video. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. Take care, lads.